start our record button. Some of our programs include our Family Business Alliance, where we have a membership program where we do everything from coaching to consulting to exposing them to wonderful programs. We have student programs where we're encouraging entrepreneurship at Fairleigh Dickinson University and in high schools. Veterans Launching Ventures program for veterans, we'll talk about in a second, and articles, research, and policy. Really becoming one of the leading voices for entrepreneurship. We do a lot of strategic planning with organizations and focusing a lot more on urban businesses who are really struggling because of the pandemic. And everything from leadership, sales, and diversity training. We're going to be working with Jackie Larea and some others to do some exciting things in these certification programs. So we wouldn't exist without our major sponsors. TD Bank Charitable Foundation has been a wonderful sponsor. Provident Bank as well, and the Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey. And second, I'm going to promote Tony Russo, the panelist. I think he's going to join us for some of our session. The president of the Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey. We also are very proud to have created something called Family Business Week, where the fourth week in October, we're encouraging really everyone in the world to support a local family business. For more information about this, it's called familybusinessweek.com. Now, we want people to support family businesses throughout the year, but we give them special
Go ahead, Marian.
Oh yeah, hi everybody. I'm Marian Janes, and my business is coaching, professional coaching. I'm here in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I'm really excited to be here today because I got to hear already Brad's really compelling story about humanism. And as a coach, I mean, that enters into basically everything I do, almost every conversation I have with those I coach, especially in the area of medium and small sized businesses as well as corporations. So it's kind of like a common bond and element underneath so much of our success. So my background is in learning and talent development. I'm a lifelong learner and educator, and I'm really excited to be able to share some insights around what Brad's going to share. But his story is so compelling; it kind of says it all. So I'm just really excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Marian. I just want to start by thanking the whole FDU team. I have been watching these webinars for the last few months, and after working with the team this week to prepare for this one, it has been a pleasure. And I just wanted to take a moment to say that, just because it's a lot of quality and a lot of information over a long period of time, and I think we all look forward to them on Fridays. So that being said, my name is Brad Reuter, and design and construction is our business. I grew up in New Jersey, went to Purdue University, and pursued construction and design on a large corporate level for many years until I decided to start my own firm, Bradcore, with humanism as the driving force. I sort of had this yearning desire to combine what I love almost more than anything, design and construction, into people, and really impacting their lives and using the tools that I was educated on, and I feel impacts almost everyone's life. So today's topic is humanism in business, and I think in general we want to talk about three general topics. The quote you see from Maya Angelou was chosen by FDU, but extremely poignant for our discussion today. And as a definition of humanism, I just want to take a moment to sort of define what we consider humanism, which is simply prioritizing people's needs over your products or services, and using those priorities to make all your decisions, and not only in certain aspects of your business, but in all aspects of your business. It seems straightforward, and we'll break it down into the three categories where, how does humanism affect your mission statement, your products and services as an organization? How do you attract the staff and vendors and suppliers, and maintain the culture of your organization to keep humanism at the forefront? And how do you support and give back to your local community or any special interests? So we'll sort of break up the webinar into those three areas, and we could start with how does humanism impact your mission, products, and services? So for starters, humanism, as far as whatever business one has, they're either operating or owning. If people are your driving force, then all businesses can be impacted by humanism. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to sell medical supplies to have a humanistic business. Clearly, being in construction, that for most in the public eye, that's the antithesis of humanism. And we'll get to how we sort of infuse it into our, construction lives. So all companies, all industries, all facets of our lives are affected by humanism. And why do we even have these businesses? Whether it's a small business, a large business, money is something that everyone runs their business for, but it's also the gratification. Knowing peers and other business owners, I think we all know how much time and effort and energy, whether it's a family business or just a small business, how much of one's life goes into these businesses, and gratification and satisfaction are clearly, I personally think, the largest trophy at the end of that journey, coupled with the money. But I wanted to say both of those things because as we go through how humanism impacts our businesses, some people are entering into this webinar wondering how it's going to affect their bottom line. And maybe they don't understand how humanism not only is personal gratifying and helps you and your staff grow as individuals, but how it does affect your bottom line. And people sometimes immediately think that it's the opposite of that. The more humanistic you are, somehow that negatively impacts your bottom line. So how do you get started on becoming a humanistic organization? And for starters, and this is one of the areas in speaking with Marian the last few days, one of the areas of her expertise is clients, our relationships that we have with our clients. So knowing your clients well and addressing their needs is something that is paramount. For us, it started off with just listening, just really listening to our clients and understanding, are they anxious? Are they nervous? In our industry with construction, it's generally an expensive endeavor, emergency-based, something that disrupts one's life. So we come from a point of sitting with a client that's about to embark on something that's pretty extreme, and it's our job to create that peace of mind for them as we're moving forward. So I don't know if Marian, you wanted to address some of the expectations versus experience, or the anxious feelings that people have during a process like this.
Sure. So it's probably not the first time you heard this, know thy customer. I think we all set out to do that. We seek to do that. And that's where the relationships are formed, and really getting to know them. But when I could speak from just my experience, there's the piece, the what do they want? And no matter what our service or our specialty is, whatever your family business does, this is where we kind of form those connections a lot about, well, somebody might want some renovations, or somebody might want a product that you sell, or somebody might want coaching from me. And within that, they want some peace of mind. So we immediately set out to try to connect with them around their want. But what really were those strong connections, where Brad is taking us, I believe, is into how they feel. So we don't want to lose sight of how they feel in thinking about even beginning to renovate or beginning to work with us and our companies, and having somebody, especially now with COVID, coming on site or engaging with them. So there's feelings that come up, like being anxious and being concerned. So now we've got, if we can connect around those emotions, that's where those sustainable, long-lasting relationships will be formed. And that's where we'll talk more about this later, but they have these expectations of us. So and they're pretty lofty, as you all know, being business owners. So for us to try to create an experience in line with their expectations, we have to understand who they are, what they want, but deeper, what they need.
So Peace of mind then, since we've used that term a few times, we actually consider peace of mind a product that we produce with our clients. And it's usually the first thing that we try to achieve, assuming that everyone in whatever trade you are involved in, construction or accounting, you really need to listen and understand what they're saying, but building trust is probably the most essential component of getting to that peace of mind level. And trust is also the most important part of building any relationship. I think personally, but also in the business world, that once we establish that trust and all those guards are down, we could all actually perform our skill and our trade at a high level. But our first step is trying to get our clients to a trust. Word of mouth, things of that nature help with that process, but we take it on and spend a lot of pre-construction in our universe. We spend a lot of pre-construction time getting to know, our clients. And once we build that trust, in order to follow through with that peace of mind, you have to have the services and products that sort of substantiate that. In our industry, in design and construction, we are a unique firm that we perform all aspects of our industry, all the way from locating properties to designing properties for our clients, to constructing properties for our client, for building those properties, maintaining them, and then also helping people move afterwards. And there was a conscious effort when we started this mission that we needed to have control of the entire process in order to guarantee that we could achieve that trust and that peace of mind. It's a large endeavor, no matter what your industry is, but it is something that gives us the power and control. And as a construction company and design company, you rarely see a company that provides the breadth of services that we do. And we do it for a reason, because it makes a business complicated, but it also ensures that that relationship is solid. So some of the products and services, they work the same way. Our products need to vary to accommodate all of the needs of our clients, whether they're, I guess our most unique product is a membership that we developed, which I don't think any other design or construction firm has. That membership was started from the needs of our clients that wanted to get to a higher level of a relationship with us. Everyone has their accountant, everyone has their lawyer on retainer, but very few people, commercial and residential clients of ours, have a design and construction firm at their beck and call 24/7 for all of the services that we offer. And we do that because it helps create that basis for an annual and long-term relationship through different seasons, through different phases of their life, through different needs. These were all very important things to us to be able to provide so that we could develop a more personal relationship. I could honestly say that half of our staff has either been invited to weddings for our clients, birthday parties for our clients. It's something that we have garage codes, keys to people's places. We really become a part of people's lives. And this works for commercial as well as residential. And whether you're a CEO of a commercial facility or a facilities director, that peace of mind can still be achieved. You don't need to envision in your mind, in our world at least, a residential contractor that needs that, but businesses need that too, especially these days. They need to know that this aspect of their life, their construction and maintenance, are taken care of. Whether it's an office manager for a dentist's office that doesn't have to spend half of their time running around and stressing about the leak in the roof when they know that they could pick up the phone and truly get one point of contact from us. So the membership is a very special thing to our group because it really is innate to having a family-like environment with our clients. Most recently, we developed humanism in building specific division in our organization because the amount of people we had coming to us with a little bit more sensitive needs, people with disabilities, seniors, people are being discharged from rehab centers. We needed to expand in listening to our clients and understanding what their needs were. We need to expand into having an entire division run now by a physical therapist that we hired to specifically cater to that population so that they get extra special attention versus some of the other construction projects that we're doing. COVID. Over the last year, we have molded ourselves, researched products, were allowed into facilities that other people were not, but that's no different than a snowstorm that knocks out the power from all of our clients. So I'm giving these examples to show how, our reaction from a design and construction standpoint is based on the needs expressed by all of our clients, old, young, commercial, residential, and it makes for a complete relationship. When I start to think of some of the life examples as I was going through all of these items, I think that everyone who's running an organization that's trying to achieve this mission of humanism, if you could yourself sit back with your team and have real life examples that you are experiencing as a group that are achieving this, then you are on the right path. You will know when people feel trustworthy. You will know when people achieve their peace of mind. They will not hesitate to share that with you. Or if you're astute enough, you will feel that relationship grow. So if you're doing it right, your company will constantly be challenged, which, for me, we enjoy as a team. Your company will constantly be challenged and evolving to meet the needs of your clients as time or seasons go on. Is there anything else you wanted to add to just creating an organization pushed by humanism?
Something that keeps coming to mind, and now that I've gotten the opportunity to meet you and we've talked through this, and it just, the humanism part, it's a feeling. You just mentioned the word feeling, and it just shines through from you, and I can imagine how it shows up in your people. But you also mentioned the word trust, and what I've learned about trust is that it comes from listening. And when you were mentioning about those meetings you have up front with the people that you meet with, that's, I believe, the first part of trust is just, you must listen with care and listen with deep desire to want to understand their wants and needs. So I think that's just so critical that you pointed that out. And, there's a gentleman called Simon Sinek, you may have heard of him, and he wrote a book called Start With Why, and he also has a TED Talk. And what Simon says, and this is kind of basic sales stuff, we're all selling something probably here as a small business or a medium business. But Simon says, not the game, Simon says, but Simon Sinek says that, everybody knows what you do. So picture a concentric circles. What is on the outside? Everybody knows what you do. They can go to your website. They can speak to you, speak to your customers. People know how you do it. They can also figure that out pretty easily. But what they sometimes need to feel from you and hear from you, and this is the stuff that's not stated, is why you do it. And he asked the question, why do you get up in the morning as a business owner, as a leader, and why should anybody care? And so what I'm hearing from you, Brad, is that caring component, which builds that trust that you mentioned.
I guess for me, it was sort of it was a lucky moment in time that I took the opportunity to start my own business with those intentions. I don't know, I can honestly say I don't know what it's like, and you do the coaching of an organization that maybe doesn't have these principles but wants to morph into something else. I had the, I guess, luxury of starting a company from scratch, knowing that was really my intention. So I was able to build from there. I would imagine that morphing a company that doesn't currently exist that way has some additional challenges that,
it does.
a little bit more difficult that I would not be able to speak to. But, again, my path was pretty specific.
Right. And it just real quickly. So the difference is that a lot of companies that I work with, they have a lot of values. And I love that companies have values, but guess where they are? They're on the wall. Sometimes they're beautiful colors, but what I don't see is how do you get them into the hearts and minds of the people? So just because, and the only way to do that is to emulate behaviors. So Brad, you and your people emulating those behaviors, those engaging behaviors that people want to be a part of, that's how you're building your community. As I see it, keep it mention the word community. You can't just have them on paper. So that's kind of a challenge for everybody here today.
And
How do we get that across?
I think that's also a perfect segue to the next bullet point, which is, how do you attract? It's wonderful if you're an owner of a company, but I think we all know as business owners that we are nothing without our support staff, without our team members. I can't really do a lot of construction all on my own. So, how do you attract, develop, maintain, and inspire humanism within your organization and your staff to be able to complete all these things that we just finished talking about? So, as far as attracting and hiring, there's of course the regular part of any business where it's a numbers game, and of just finding the right person, having the right criteria, and that's pretty traditional. But when it comes to humanism, I find that when people are coming here for an interview, I make a concerted effort for them to meet a handful of people that are here and to emphasize our team unity, which if you truly have it, you do not need to talk about it very often. There's very few people that leave our environment without wanting to even just hang out with someone and have a beer. I mean, the personal relationships happen very quickly when you feel like you're walking into a family environment that's willing to embrace you and pull you in. So as far as drawing the right people, if you walk the walk, then your organization, you should show that off to potential employees. You should be proud of your accomplishments in the area of humanism. And I find that most people want to be a part of this experience. They just don't know how, or don't have the right conduit or environment to work in. But we take humanism in the attracting and hiring people in all of our facets, and it transcends into this area. I mean, there are some other pieces, I think, when you think about your employees and retaining them, that flexible work schedule, especially today. These are things that we do not have large paragraphs in our policies and procedures manual. You have to be home at 4 o'clock to pick up your kids. That's your life. We care about your life, so go home at 4 o'clock every day. We infuse all of those more, more generic things, but they're all very important. But I do find that when people see our family-like support system and give examples of our humanistic endeavors, that's enough to want to draw the right people in. The wrong people are not interested in those things. They generally want to not be at the forefront or part of a team. So it scares them away a lot of the times. To develop and maintain, if you want to go to the next slide, once you have those employees and that staff in place, I guess just go one more after this. Let's see if we're getting into the employee part of it. So develop and maintaining those employees. I couldn't think of anything else when I went across this topic other than team effort. As basic as that sounds, there's nothing like working with a team. And I sort of chose these photos to indicate these are all very high achieving, victorious individuals. And if you can't see or feel the difference in the photos and how it resonates, that as a team succeeding versus an individual, it's just, I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and somehow this creeped into the slides because it was unavoidable for me to want to talk about teamwork, because that is at the heart and soul of our developmental systems that we have in place, that everyone's equally important. Construction is very conducive to a process-like environment. And we like to say all the time that, without everything, we have nothing here. Because, you can't half finish someone's house and give yourself credit for 50%. It doesn't work that way in construction. You need to be 110% done for people to truly, enjoy your product in the end. I think teaching empathy is something that for new people who are engaged in our organization, I think it's important to, it's not natural for a lot of people. Maybe they didn't grow up in that type of environment. Maybe they feel too vulnerable. Whatever it is, you need to teach empathy and how it impacts our clients and how it impacts our company and how it impacts you personally, and allows you to have that trust we were talking about before. It's a great thing that unfortunately you have to actually teach that to people sometimes. I think mentoring is a very big part of how we grow people here within, because we set some fine examples. Our employees do, not even myself. There are employees here that set such an example that if there's someone new that comes on board and they have that team-like feeling, no one wants to fail the team. Nobody wants to fail the team, and it is it's motivational for them. But when it comes to true motivation, inspiring, after you attract the employee, have your development and maintaining them, I found there's one thing that is 100% guaranteed to inspire one's employees, which is gratification expressed by our clientele. Our construction staff in the field is not used to getting handwritten letters by clients that come to our office on a daily or weekly basis appreciating their efforts. When you see in an employee's face, and we stand up in a group and we share appreciation from a client, that's about enough of an inspiration as any human being needs. To be appreciated seems to be, we don't have to do anything. We've already done all the work, and it's our clients' feedback that generally continues the inspiration for our clients. We have at that particular point in time when they are saying things, it's not always about the quality of work that's being put in place. It's the fact that a carpenter foreman of ours saw a grandmother that looking was a little ill and decided to take it upon himself to talk to the family and call 911 and have an ambulance. It's taking groceries out of someone's car if you happen to be walking out to your van and bringing that up. It's all of those things that help us to stand out. And as much as people appreciate our construction and design acumen, it is a list, an endless list of those other examples that resonate with our clients for a very, very, very long time. And not how nice our crown molding looks on the kitchen ceiling, which is important, but it's not what sends the waves through our staff and gets people to tell their neighbor about us or gets another business to sign up with our membership. So that's, employees in general. I don't know if you want to go back to the slide, Marian, on the customer service versus customer experience to sort of wrap up this topic.
So you know what, that you must have said that word, inspiring, inspiration, inspire. I don't know if anybody else picked up on that. You said it numerous times, and I think it just sounds like such a differentiator. I work with a lot of leaders, and when you talked about trust before, if you can just not cultivate trust, people talk about cultivate trust, listen better, ask better questions, things like that. But imagine like inspiring leadership, like that's a whole nother level. And when I hear that word inspire, it just jumps out at me because now I can kind of share in your vision of how your people feel coming to work, and how your customers feel as a result of what it is that they're carrying, not only with them, not the tools to do the job, but deep within them to make the experience better.
When you are the creator and owner of a company and you spend very, very little time after, fast forward the 12 years that we've been in business, I can't even tell you how little time I spend talking to my clients about these, not my clients, my employees, sorry, about these particular topics. It's not something I need to infuse in them. There is if you follow through with all of these things that we're talking about, people will grab that baton and run with it on their own. I don't need to tell employees that have been here for a year that they need to be empathetic. I don't need to tell people what it's like to take the extra step for a client because, they're having a rough day and you know what, they're getting ready for school, and why don't you wait in your van for a half an hour and let them do what they're doing in the house and go in. I don't need to say any of those things. And it makes me proud to not have to focus in on those issues for people that are here. There are times like, I guess as a proud parent would almost feel, sometimes I just step back and I just watch everything sort of unfold, and I do not have to worry about a client being unhappy about one of my employees. And that's special. And that's probably why I use the word inspire a lot, because when it's real, it's very powerful.
Well, I hear it in your voice, just as you're getting all excited talking about it. So, for those people in the audience who either have a company of their own and they're trying to reach that level of inspiration, or they feel they already are, or they're working for somebody else and they're trying to instill those same kind of values. So there's three things that you're seeing on here. The customer service, again, people usually know why they're hired. They know what their jobs are. I hope they know. Sometimes if they don't, we need to make sure they do. The customer experience is, again, it's not always the expectation that they're going to go out and get to know the customer and make them feel good about the interaction. But in order for total customer engagement to be in place, they have to start considering these things. And again, it begins by listening better. It begins by just, one act of kindness that I'm hearing. And for them to be engaged, we need to understand their expectations. If we don't understand the expectations overall, by asking a question, okay, so we're going to be doing a home improvement. What are your feelings about that? Or what are your thoughts about that? Things like that, just simple questions to let them know at least you care when you step foot on the property. So the engagement's super, super important. It has to balance out with the experience. And, if just a simple tool, if you haven't had the time, or things are changing right now because through COVID, your customers in that experience area are really nervous and anxious, I'd imagine, maybe even coming on site. So, I do it in my business. I have customer personas where I'll take 3 sample customers, and then I'll just kind of blow out, and there's templates for this. You can find them online if you Google them. Who is this person that I'm serving? Is it an older citizen in a home? What are their fears? What are their anxieties? What are their previous like? Just really get to know them on a deeper level, and then prepare yourself to go interact with that person. That's a tool that you can bring back and utilize to try to get to know your customers better.
I guess you just reminded me of COVID and trust and all these things we're talking about. Just a funny story from COVID. One of our most, I hope this comes across well, one of our most timid, quiet employees, not normally the person that is in the middle of any sort of, interesting things unfolding. We were at a particular client's house completing a renovation that they needed. And this was at a time where her teenage daughters were home on a regular basis, with school being all over the place, schedule-wise. And we were literally the only people that she allowed into her house. There was no delivery people, no family members, but with us, we were allowed to be in this house. So we left one of our foremen there, this quiet person who speaks very, very little, who's the sweetest man I ever want to meet. He was given specific direction. One of the girls was at school and one of the girls was upstairs. And he was told, as the person in the house, no one is to come into this house. If the doorbell rings, their teenage daughter's upstairs, and no one is allowed to come into the house. Needless to say, the doorbell rings, of course. Now we have to entertain this scenario. It happened to be the other daughter with the babysitter. As directed properly and standing by his word, he didn't know the other daughter or these people for that matter, and would not let them into the house. So after about a half hour of them pleading to let them in the house, I get a call from my client, hysterically laughing, saying, I know you're not on site, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate your employees' dedication to our wishes, but can you please let my daughter into the house so that she can finish her homework, and the lady that she's with is the babysitter. But it's just an example of, focusing truly on a request, in this case, a need from a client that this particular individual took very seriously during a very sensitive time and did not veer off course. And it ended up being a wonderful laughing story for a while amongst the family, but it was something that made me proud. It ties back into how we ended before. I don't even know if I can express how proud that, although we made fun of him for a while, it was kind of entertaining in-house. I do have to say I could not have been any prouder of an employee to know that they trusted us with their family members, and no matter what seemed logical or illogical, he stuck true to what we needed. And those are the kind of experiences that I could list on a daily basis and on a weekly basis. I did want to touch base on one other piece that you were saying about with this customer engagement, because customer engagement for our universe can be anywhere from a board meeting with vying parties, or a married couple. And surprise, surprise, married couples do not always agree on the way renovation or a project should unfold. So there is a psychology component of this customer engagement where it's rarely a one-on-one, and sometimes as amplified as a married couple all the way to a board meeting. So I just wanted to sort of add in how wide that spreads when you're sitting with an entire family, from kids to grandparents, or in a huge organization trying to guide them in the path that works best for them. You are all of a sudden pulled into an environment where you are the peacemaker, you are the solution maker, and all you want to do is tell them what they should be doing construction wise. And this facet of it becomes much, much more important.
Yeah.
Marian, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I apologize. My computer died. My hard drive died completely. So I'm on my iPad now. So of all the times to do that. So I apologize. You folks have been doing a great job. So you've been asking a lot of questions. So if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you some questions. So you are an expert coach. You are certified at what level as a coach?
A PCC, which is the second level coaching out of 3.
Coach. So you work with a number of business leaders and others. And Brad is unique. Why don't you say what advice, you folks have been doing, what advice do you have for our audience, our small business leaders, our family business folks? What do you say to them?
Well, you want me to go? I actually have a few.
Yeah, sure.
I actually was thinking about this because I know you, and I know you were going to ask something like that. So, I'm thinking, I always, as a coach, like to challenge the people I'm working with. So now that we've come to all these insights and everything, and we've got all this, we've been talking about all these great things like customer care and inspiration and Brad's story, what are you going to go back and do about it? So the things that I'm asking you, and some of you can put it in the chat box before you leave, because if you type it out, it means commitment. But, what can you do like right now to really make a difference, to really be more human? Something that Brad's taught us to demonstrate humanism. And then, challenge yourself and your employees, to perform maybe one human act in everything they do. So I consider the customer journey, there's touch points, and it begins from the minute they become aware of us, maybe even through word of mouth or an ad, to the time that we hopefully sustain them and maintain them as a customer. So in each touch point that you have and your employees have, how can you incorporate just one human element and leave it up to people? They can do it themselves. And the other thing that comes up to mind when I'm hearing you speak, Brad, is recognizing humanness in one another and calling that out. So I think, do you have another slide of recognition? I know we chatted about recognition, but when you go to reward your people, it doesn't always have to be around performance. It doesn't always have to be before they did. So it's doing versus being. They not only did what they were expected, but they are being the kind of person that represents your organization in a human way. So recognize them and call them out for being human and some of the things you observe. That would be some things you could do, I think, when you go back, if you really want to challenge yourself.
Great advice. Great advice. Do you have more slides?
We have one more. There's one more after that there. I think one of the last general topics, and obviously we could talk about anything afterwards. One of our general topics was, your organization's community and special interests. And I wanted to talk about this because we've sort of taken this, I want to donate to a good cause, to, as we do in other areas of our company, sort of to the nth degree. And I think it's important for everyone to know that back to my original statement when we started, saying that there's two reasons to run a business is gratification / satisfaction and money, obviously. And I think that when you dive into your community and special interests, both of those things are addressed tenfold. And the way we approach it is we dive deep into personal interests, business interests, community interests. You see my university up there. We talk to our employees about what's important to them. We really have no limits, as we sort of treat it, if you're a financial person, as our financial portfolio. This is our community giving portfolio to a certain degree. And we just take a lot of pride in it, and we have developed some amazing relationships because of it. Clearly, it opens up doors from a business standpoint, and it obviously makes one feel good when they are supporting and working with a cause. Now, the next level after that is, I guess, in the challenge. If I was a coach, I would say try to push yourselves to doing more than just writing a check, which I am by no means saying that is not a wonderful, wonderful thing. But if you see on the left side of the screen, we sort of took the concept of giving to the next level, and I created a nonprofit called Senior Source, which is a space in the shops at Riverside Mall. It's a free lounge for seniors with free classes, and it's a very, very special place. But I'm using it as a prime example of, it doesn't just have to be a check. And there are many things that people can do. And I found that if you do have the time or the luxury to do so, when you get hands-on in the causes that are important to you, whatever you would have experienced by writing a check, you will experience, immensely by being involved, and you get to meet a lot of.
Yep, tenfold by doing that. So let me ask both of you, do you, this is an amazing story, and do we know, can you cite any other companies that are similar, Brad or Marian, that are kind of putting people first, that have this humanistic approach to their business?
Surely not in my industry. That is, and as much as I love my industry, we are not known for humanism. It's not part of our industry. So, not just the way we approach it humanistically, but I think that the fact that we've morphed our products and services around that makes us extremely unique in that regard.
So if Marian, do you know of any other companies?
I have to say that all the organizations of all sizes have had to pivot just by having their people in Zoom and not having them in the office. And some of them have done great jobs about reaching out, and it's a manager's job now to have physically call or speak to someone. But what I'm really impressed with is this past week, I have been working through an extension through Rutgers Corporate Outreach. And we have this with some big pharma companies. And some of them are intertwined and all under the same umbrella. And we scoped out all this leadership training, and it's supposed to kick off next week in change management and everything else. And they just decided, and this 2 pharma companies actually, now that the vaccine's out, first they thought they trained their people. They're not even doing that. This is a huge thing. They pulled all the training because they literally, in their words, want to focus on their people and where they're at, because now that all the vaccines are released, they just need to give them a break. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was really humanistic coming from pharma companies that, it's so easy to get lost in the machine.
Dale, you made me think of something along that line, which is that for your vantage point of all of these businesses and what businesses are humanistic, I don't know why it popped into my head, but all businesses seem to focus when it comes to the marketing phase of a business. All of these tools of focusing in on clients' needs and whatnot seem to be very prevalent in almost every organization or every good marketing department. But for some reason, the same passion for humanism doesn't tend to follow through in the operations, delivery, and follow-up part of a business. But as part of marketing, you are focusing in on what people need and trying to develop a product, which is any good marketing company, but I'm not exactly sure why people don't take it through the other phases of what one's business is.
Yeah.
it's scary, isn't it? It's a little scary. I mean, people in the audience may be sitting there saying, this is fantastic, but they've been doing this, Brad's been doing it for a long time. Marian, what do you think? And we could probably stop sharing the slides too.
Yeah, I think I will stop sharing the slides. Well, you know what, just something that I was thinking as you were both talking is that, and I see it happening, is that as employers and as business owners, it has to start with us and our employees. If humanism isn't there, it's really hard to say to people, reach out to your customers more, be more human. You go out and find a touch point, just put a human element in. If we're not listening to them because they're anxious because of COVID, or because they have challenges at home, or maybe they even lost somebody, we have to create a culture where humanism is at the base of it before you even think about doing it with your customers. And I think that's what I hear, Brad, you've done.
Yes, for sure. I mean, you can't follow through the implementation without the people behind you. And it's sort of an all-in process. I think that people consider, and I don't know what the distinction is between doing something nice or having a humanistic organization. I think that there's a lot of people that do nice things along the way, or take moments to, hold open a door and do that. But I think when it comes to the business world, and making it a successful part, because let's face it, our businesses need to make money for us to even be able to continue being humanistic. So it's not something to avoid. And I think that you need to be all in. You need to be all in. If this is something that you want to do something, then you just want to be nice people every once in a while. If you want to convert your business based on humanistic values, you need to be all in. Employees, clients, how you communicate, from marketing all the way through delivery of product and all the above.
So we had Anita Rivers, who's at Fairleigh Dickinson University, had written in. She wants the contact information for both of you. So can you share your contact information so the audience can reach out to you and learn your secrets?
Yeah, what happened to those slides?
Well, just give your website. Just give your website.
Well, there was a quote in here that I was going to say, that being humanistic was the most beneficial part of being humanistic is when people aren't watching or having any expectations. So Marian and I decided we're not going to share our information because we're doing this purely on a humanistic basis. And
I love that, Brad. Way to pivot.
And we don't need to share our content.
Yeah, I'll put mine. Well, actually, can I type in? I'll type mine in the chat, but it's you can reach me at Marian with an A-N, M-A-R-I-A-N at ignitegrowthacademy.com. I believe that was also sent out with, it appears somewhere on the bio for here. And you can also, the other best way to reach me is on LinkedIn at Marian Janes with J-A-N as in Nancy, E-S. Love to connect. And I'm going to put it in here for you.
And I think that I just saw something from Susan that she's going to share all the contact information, but I can give my my email address is bruder, R-U-D-E-R at brad-core.com. And you could always check out our website too at www.bradcore.com.
Well, it's wonderful, because I think people are going to want to say, Brad, well, how do you do it? What do I start? What's your advice? And so I think, it's really wonderful. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how our shows about humanism and caring, seem to get really good sized audiences. And I do coaching, and Marian does coaching. And she and I were talking before the show about there's more interest in coaching than I've seen in a long time. So I think that people are trending because of the pandemic, that they really are doing things because we've been suffering and we've been struggling. So I think this is it's the right thing to do, but it's the right time to do it. So I don't know, Marian, you want to say something?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because Dale, what I'm finding and coaching, it's a great time to be a coach, because not just because you can get out there and build your business and make some money, because you really can truly help. And when it comes to coaching, so people who want to do what Brad's done and emulate what Brad's done, and you're really well-intentioned, that word comes up a lot. Sometimes it's just really hard to get it done. So that's where the coach comes in, is helping turn that motivation, lighting that spark, and just helping you figure out, how to embed that in your organization.
So Brad, you started a trend. You're way ahead of the game.
That's
You knew the pandemic was coming, and you became, a people person long before that.
You know what? We were joking about it before the webinar started. And honestly, I spent, the last couple of days looking at this for the webinar, and I forgot how humanistic we really are. I really, you just operate a certain way. And it was actually really, I don't know, it was a very extremely fulfilling couple of days in looking at this information and reevaluating, being forced to reevaluate who we are. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was pretty happy with the results.
Now let's get a little personal as we get towards the end of it. I mean, relationships outside of work. I mean, does this carry over? Does this make life outside of work that much better?
I could speak from my organization, and I could stand up everyone in a room and we would all have the same exact answer. There is no distinction between work and how our relationships develop and work versus personal. We spend a lot of hours together. We work together, and I make a concerted, whether it's a trip down the shore every summer together, or whether it's dinners together, or it's mingling our field staff with our people in senior source, and so on and so forth. It is amazing what goes on a personal level, meaning the connections and the trust and the caring. Let's put it this way. If someone had a personal issue in their life going on in my organization, one of the first calls outside of their immediate family would be another employee in this company. And there isn't one person here that wouldn't be at their beck and call 24/7. It's a very special thing that I feel lucky sometimes. This is not something that I feel like is so planned, or maybe part of it is, but I am lucky to have a group of people that care about each other on every single level.
And so now what about the community, local programs, sports? I know you do some supporting of that and other things. And, that's part of this, isn't it?
For sure. I mean, let's put it this way. We, in as far as local community organizations, more so than some of the, the things outside of the area, I have met, at minimum, bare minimum, I have met some fantastically brilliant, caring, amazing people. And honestly, I mean, the two of you guys on the screen right now are part of that. I mean, my relationship with your team, Dale, has been developing ever since a year ago, and it's going to continue forever. And I feel like there's so much more, and that's all because we cared about some organization or event, locally. And I think that Bergen County has a lot of really savvy places and amazing people that you don't have to go much further, I guess, than here to be stimulated by another organization.
And I write a lot about influence, and so just this positivity is influencing other people to be more positive. So it becomes contagious. So Marian, as a coach, you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah. First of all, with humanism, I don't know how you could turn it on and off. Mm-hmm. And so to tie into your contagion, you want to have that. If you're living and you're incorporating that into who you are, it's how you show up. And your behaviors, it always comes down to me behaviors as a coach. I'm always saying, well, behavior is going to indicate where you're at and how you show up. And so when it comes down to the humanism part of it, you just have to demonstrate human behaviors over and over and over and be positive and confident. So what I hear in Brad's voice is confidence. He's not just talking and sharing his story, like he's so immersed in it. And there's a lot of emotion in that, seriously. And so, if you can demonstrate that over and over again, and that positivity, you don't have to, just the way you show up is enough. But you can't turn it on and off. It's who you are. It becomes your fiber, your reason for being.
Amazing how contagious being happy is around people. Just as the most simplest statement I could make, you just be happy around other people, and I guarantee you the other 50% of the room automatically is going to become happy, and maybe the other half you have to work on a little bit, but it's contagious in and of itself, especially during times like this.
Yeah. Have you tried the game? I'm in New York City all the time, and I do play the game of smiling at somebody and seeing them smile back, because they often say the only people smiling in New York City are the crazy people, but we want to change that. So, but just by smiling at somebody, you see that they respond and they smile. it really helps. And again, I know you, Brad, you described it earlier. You defined humanism earlier. Now I just want to make sure again, this humanism is not a religious thing. It has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with
No.
how we behave as human
Yeah.
beings. And I think it's really very powerful. And I know my dad who passed away in September and my mom, that they've always been the most positive people. And I my mom who's here has Alzheimer's, and so I know other people, and they say, when you have Alzheimer's, sometimes your personality comes out and you're not nice. But my mom is so pleasant and so grateful and so thank you that this humanism is about who she is at her core. And it's wonderful. And so I'm blessed, I'm really, truly blessed to have parents like that. So as we get near the end, final comments, either Marian, Brad, what are your final thoughts?
I guess my final thought, I guess, in the spirit of being helpful to the people that were around, is I'll just go back to what I was just saying, that this is not a subject that you have someone come in and do a presentation on humanism. So you have a room full of people checking it off because your human resources department wants you to tell people to say thank you on a regular basis. This is not what this webinar was about. This webinar is about starting with yourself, starting with your next director of operations, starting with every employee, every vendor, and being fully vested, because I just truly don't think that anyone will reap the benefits that I had on doing it sort of part of the way. And again, that distinction between just being nice and humanism, to me, that's my definition. It's really taking the niceness and being completely enveloped in it. So I would recommend that if you want to change your company, look at yourself first and make sure that you trickle down that same vibe, with everyone else. And that's the way you'll succeed with it.
And before we get to Marian, I want to echo that this is just the start. This is really just a kickoff. Some of you have been living it. Some people online are living it already, but hopefully, and that's why they want your number. They want to say, well, how do we begin this process, and how long does it take to really make it become part of you? So, Marian, do you have any final comments?
My thoughts are just that it's always make it about them, which I think we all know that, and we all do that, whether it's your employees, your customers, your family, today's world, you'll reach out and help somebody. But, if you can make it about them, the other thing is just give yourself and the people around you the freedom to be human. Just give them the freedom, because, a lot of times we say it's like lip service. Give yourself and your people and everybody around you the freedom to be human and appreciate them for who they are.
That's wonderfully said. But I just want to thank Brad and Marian, thank you so much. Again, I apologize to you and the audience. My hard drive is dead. I actually called the place and between said, order me a new Surface. So I'm getting a new Surface. But thank you. This is great. You did a good job carrying it on. So I thank everybody for attending. We had a great audience today, and we will see you next week. So take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dale. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.